Hello, welcome back to Called to Homeschool with your homeschool coach, Meg Thomas. Friends, thanks so much for being here and listening to the podcast. Just love it. Okay, so let's start with a little confession time, right? So I've been homeschooling for a long time, and there was a season right in the beginning where our homeschool lessons would drag on and on and on. And I would think that the more learning, more time meant more learning. But all it really led to was frustration, tears, and wondering if you're even cut out to do any of this. Maybe also a lot of clients I hear have this exact same issue and wondering like if they'd be better off in school because there's so much fighting and there's so much contention. Then I stumbled across Charlotte Mason's idea of short and sweet lessons, and it completely shifted our whole entire homeschool in such a beautiful, beautiful way. Not only did my kids start enjoying homeschool more, paying more attention, but I also found myself enjoying teaching. So, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about why short lessons matter and how to actually train your children to have a longer attention span and how they can completely transform the atmosphere in your home. So, whether you're brand new to Charlotte Mason or you've been at it for a while, I think you'll walk away with some encouragement and some practical tips you can try right away. And I will also be sharing what I will be doing for lesson plans for October. So, Charlotte Mason had this simple but powerful idea. Lessons should be kept short in order to train a child's attention. Now, that might sound almost too simple, but think about it for a moment. When lessons go on and on, children's minds wander. Heck, my mind wanders. They get fidgety and eventually they learn the habit of half paying attention. But when lessons are intentionally short, we're actually helping our children build the habit of giving their full focus. It's like exercising a muscle. You don't start by running a marathon. You start with a short, intentional workout, and over time, the consistency builds strength. It's that same with our children's attention span. Short lessons, done faithfully or consistently, teach them the skill of focusing completely for a set amount of time. And here's something really important. Short does not mean shallow. Short does not mean half hearted, not putting in a lot of effort. But a 10-minute math lesson or a 15-minute history reading can be packed with really rich ideas and full engagement. In fact, I'd argue that shorter lessons often have more impact because everyone is bringing their best attention to the table. So when Charlotte Mason says lessons should be short, she's not telling us to cut corners or water things down. She's reminding us that quality beats quantity. And that is something that I've really taken to heart in my homeschool. Quality beats quantity. And that true learning happens when the mind is awake, alert, and ready to receive. So let's talk about why short lessons are so powerful. In a Charlotte Mason education, first, short lessons train attention. When a child knows they only have 10 or 15 minutes for a subject, they're more likely to give it their all. They don't have to pace themselves or drag it out. They can leave in focus and know that it won't last forever. The habit of full attention built in short bursts pays off in every area of life. Second, short lessons prevent burnout. We've all had those moments when a math lesson drags into the full afternoon, right? I don't even know how many clients that I have talked to about this. And by the end, everyone's in tears, including mom. Long, drawn out lessons can create resistance and dread, but keeping lessons short keeps them fresh. It's like ending the party while it's still fun. You leave your child wanting more instead of wishing it was over. Third, short lessons encourage variety. Charlotte Mason believed in spreading a wide feast of ideas. When lessons are short, you have time to fit in not just the core subjects, but also art, poetry, nature study, foreign language. And as a side note, you don't have to do any of those things either if it does not speak to you, but you have more time for it because they're short and sweet. The kind of things that feed the soul. Instead of three subjects taking the whole day, you can touch on many areas in a smaller, meaningful chunks. Fourth, lessons build confidence. Success in small chunks add up. A child who struggles with spelling may not manage an hour-long spelling lesson, but 10 minutes done well gives them a sense of accomplishment. That momentum builds joy in learning and a belief that I can do this. And finally, short lessons protect relationships, which is what I'm always preaching, right? Think about how many battles in homeschooling come from lessons that go on too long. Nagging, power struggles, meltdowns, those are often symptoms of fatigue, not a lack of ability. By keeping lessons short, we reduce friction and preserve the peace between us and our children. That is worth protecting, right? So this is so interesting because just within the last couple of weeks of coaching, I have had several moms reach out to me, and one was this cutest mom in my membership who was just like, Meg, I don't know how I'm going to be doing this. Has two little kids, one on the way. And like our school is just not really engaging. Right. So I'm just asking all these questions. And finally, I said, how long does your school take? And it was hours. And I can't even remember how many hours it was, maybe 3 to 5 hours. And her child was 7 to 8 years old. And I go, oh, goodness. That's why. That's why school is a mess and you feel so drained, is that you are doing such a long lesson. So that long of school, I never do when I'm fully teaching all the way. Maybe as my kids get older and they can do a lot more independent learning, they are doing school for 3-ish hours. But with my 8-year-old, we're doing everything together, right? Just because I can. But we are maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And that is including playing time and games and a lot of hands-on really fun things, a lot of different topics we're switching through. If we're in a hurry, I'll cut it even shorter and I can do all of his school in 30 minutes. So that would be third grade and he's getting a great education. So if you are having a lot of fighting, a lot of pushback, cut these lessons down. But I want to go into it. How do we actually put this into practice? So for younger children, Charlotte Mason recommends lessons of about 10 to 15 minutes each. That's just enough time to focus, learning something meaningful, and move on. And friends, if your kid can't sit there for 10 to 15 minutes, go even shorter and start building up that attention span slowly, right? For older students, lessons could stretch to 20 or even 30 minutes, but still not an hour, not 2 hours. The goal is depth, not length. So, what could that look like? A short math lesson focusing on just a handful of problems. What we've been doing right now with my younger son is we will do a whole page of addition facts and we'll do some flashcards of subtraction. And then the other day we flip it and he does a page of subtraction and then we do flashcards of addition. And that way it's fun. It's giving him some variety and it doesn't feel too long. Copywork exercises that take 10 minutes. And that's why I love the quality over quantity, is because one of my darlings really hated handwriting. And so we would focus on one word done really well. So instead of writing a whole entire passage, just one word, right? One sentence, keeping it really short and sweet. Reading a passage of history and asking your child to narrate it back. These don't have to be long, drawn out sessions to be effective. I actually started that idea with our scripture study. We were already reading scriptures, something they were already used to, and then just asking them, what is something you remember that we just read about? Super short, sweet, and effective, because like narrating, I mean, I probably should do a whole podcast on narrating, but it is crazy to me how much it helps their brains to read, to then retell what they had just read. And instead of just reading, like, I don't even know what I read, it completely changes how your brain is doing it. And I see the most amazing fruits from narrating back. So here's a fun tip. What if your child wants to keep going? What if they are loving what you are doing? If they are eager, if they are loving it, by all means, let them. You are in charge. You are just keeping the habit going. You don't require them to do more and you don't stretch every lesson. That way, the standard rhythm stays short and focused, even as enthusiasm occasionally spills over. So this happened not too long ago in our own homeschool. I thought I want to bring back more art into our homeschool. Totally last year, our homeschool suffered. I think I need to do a whole podcast on why, what that looked like and how I'm coming out of that funk. But so we were doing art and my little guy got so into it. And so we were just trying to make a clay model of Stonehenge. And it turned into bringing in monsters and making all sorts of crazy clay figurines, painting the whole board, doing all sorts of things because he was way into it. But then we're doing something else and he wanted to keep that short and sweet. So some of the things they'll love to dive deeper on and some of the things they don't. So keep those things short and sweet. A lot of things. Um, Also, for moms, it's easier for us to do shorter lessons. That means we just need to know the main points of the lesson before we start, keeping materials ready and not overcomplicating things. If you can end a lesson while your child is still engaged, you've hit the sweet spot. Short, strong, and successful. Can you see how, like this? I feel like this podcast episode, you should just listen on repeat if ever your homeschool's feeling off, of like coming back, like, that's right. Short, strong, and successful. quality over quantity. All of these things to keep a really, it helps you with consistency. It helps you with so many things, helps them to really love learning, making like homeschool super fun. And then as they get older, they're ready for more and want you to help like them to dive even deeper and really understand these things. Um, and so that's why I like my homeschool lesson plans, and we'll go into those, but that's a lot of times why I start with picture books. And so even if a teen is not understanding something or just doesn't really care, start with a picture book. Like, okay, you don't want to know about the whole deep dive of the Magna Carta. Okay, let's find a really cute picture book about it. Let's just get some bullet points about it and just like the very basics of it. Maybe we throw in art and we make our own little chart, our own little declaration, right? Something just short and sweet instead of like, here, read this humongous textbook, write me an essay on it, but keeping things short and sweet, short, strong, and successful. So, some common struggles. So, you may say, but my child drags their feet and it still takes an hour. Here's the key: don't give up on this principle. Keep lessons short and consistent, even if it feels messy at first. Over time, your child will build the habit of full attention, and what used to take an hour will shrink into these short bursts. Another common worry is, I feel like we're not covering enough. This is such a real concern, especially if you're coming out of a traditional school mindset. But here's the truth: short lessons done day after day compound into deep learning. You are planting so many small seeds in every single day, and you may not see results immediately, but so many roots are growing strong under the surface. So if you are doubting yourself, let me encourage you: trust this process. Small intentional lessons can do far more than long exhausting ones. And even in the scripture, it talks about way small and simple things are great things brought to pass. And so coming back to the small and simple lessons, because remember, homeschooling is about nurturing a love of learning, not checking off endless boxes. A short, joy filled lesson that leaves your child hungry for more is infinitely better than a long one that leaves everyone drained. You don't have to do everything at once, and you don't have to do it perfectly. Just keep planting those small seeds of learning and watch how they grow. So, this is how I do my lesson plans. What I do is this idea of short and sweet, but with depth. So, for last month, well, I guess September, current month, we started with, I love to go in chronological order of different things happening. And so we were doing the industrial revolution. And so this next month, oh my gosh, I had so much fun writing these because we're getting ready. We're building a lot of scaffolding here, another Charlotte Mason phrase, to get ready to go into World War I and World War II. And there's so much more. Like a lot of times we're just taught, oh, Hitler was a jerk, which he's not my favorite. He's pretty low on the list. But there's so much more to it than just that, of understanding these things. And so part of it is we're going to learn about different places that were things that were happening in history before we even got to World War I. So, with that, with history, we're talking about the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now, doesn't that sound exciting? It is. This is so fun because I got to go to these places earlier this year. And so these were a lot of books I actually did in our own homeschool, because even though not all my kids went with me, to just even showing them like these are the things I did and getting them excited for travel and getting them excited about this. And then when I actually got to go there with my daughter, like we got to experience and taste it essentially of all these really amazing things. So some of the ideas with history is we're not just like diving into this deep dive of the Austria-Hungarian Empire, but first we're going to get to know Austria, right? We're going to learn to love Austrians, and we're going to learn to love Hungarians, and then the dynasty of the Habsburg family, and including Franz Joseph and his wife Sissy. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast. And maybe I did. If you had listened to the one about world schooling with Ari and Cameron, and I can't remember if we talked about it while we were on the podcast, but after, and she was telling me about Empress Sissy, and I fell in love with her. Like I fell in love with this culture by reading these books. And so when I got to go there and experience it and see the statues and see the places where they were, I loved it. Now, here was the tricky part: that a lot of books don't exist on these types of things. And so myself and my coach, Emily, that works with me, we created our own lesson plans because what I wanted didn't exist. So like we're going to have a lot of fun things with that. And so I love to then incorporate in poetry and artists and composers, people from that area. So maybe Austrian folk tales or famous Austrian composers. Some really fun things. And like I said, one of the artists that I really wanted to talk about, there are no cutesy little books, right? It's only really famous people where you can get cutesy little books. So once again, the lesson plans, we created them for you so that you can just show up, hit those main points, expose them to this beautiful art, who these people are. I actually got to go to the Empress Sissy's place in Vienna and had a lot of her dresses and a lot of her jewelry and all these things. And it was so neat to watch history come alive because reading these books or studying these things about living history and then going and experience it, like got to go to Eastern Europe and I was already in love with these people. I already love the Hungarians, right? We were in Budapest and I was like, I love this. I love everything about it. And then we go to Vienna and I got to experience all these things and all these people I'd studied about. And it was so darn exciting. And I absolutely loved it. So for science, we're going to do, because we're going into fall, I thought it'd be fun to do stuff with seasons, um, pumpkins, moons, a lot of things that just kind of go with this time of year. And then as always, I love to throw in a life skill. And so for this month is finances and having a lot of fun things like that. So I also include stuff for older children. So like I was saying, sometimes an older child, the teen, is not quite ready to read like a deep dive of the Habsburg dynasty, right? They may need to just start with a picture book, and that's totally okay. And even if they want to read it on their own. And as I was even preparing lessons, I like for our own school, like, okay, do I get this book for my older son, or what do I do? I actually am just putting in some of them of the picture books into his rotation of what he's going to be reading each month, because I thought he just doesn't care enough to do a deep dive where I'm like, this is so good. We have to know all of these things about it. So I'm just trying to put this awesome buffet before him, but in a short and sweet book, a really great information picture book style for him. So you have both options, right? So for younger kids, you can just do the picture books, right? If you have really younger kids, I actually recommend you pre-reading the picture books and then just showing them the pictures and talking about it. And it doesn't take you a lot of prep. They're usually pretty short picture books, so that you can just do that. Up to an older kid, maybe even saying like, hey, this is your book for finances you're going to read about. Here is an awesome, oh my gosh, my science books. I was so excited about these for teens, but I found really awesome inventors. I'm trying to think if they were from Hungary or Austria, and I can't remember, but just different inventions that they did and their story of tell of genius and innovation. So really fun things about people from those areas in the world and some awesome things that they created in science. But then history, so many things, a guide to Austrian history, right? I love Empress Sissy, so I threw that in there. If somebody wants to study about her. And then just some good literature books that were written in okay, I was just looking at the books. Like some of them are written like an actual author. It's like I couldn't think of the word, an actual author from that time period, right? So he may not be from that area, but he wrote it during the time that you are studying in history. So it's just so much stinking fun, these lesson plans. They're short and sweet, but full of so much depth, so that your kid is just like, a lot of times with this buffet, you're just offering things. And some of my kids have loved history like I love history, but I fell in love with history because of the Charlotte Mason philosophy. Was short and sweet. um, I mean, well-educated heart brings that in too, right? Of falling in love with the people. And that's where I've implemented their folk tales from different countries where we're studying. But these living stories have made history come alive to me. And throughout high school, and I've been very open that I was never a star student. History was one of the subjects I dreaded the most because it was just boring facts. And in 1845, this happened. And in 1910, this happened. And it's like, who cares? But this, getting to know the people and their story and so many fun things, has completely ignited a flame of love of learning for myself. And so, you can grab these lesson plans on my website, www.coachmegthomas.com. And they're super fun, very Charlotte Mason E, very modern Charlotte Mason E, short and sweet ideas for your homeschool. So, friend, that is it for today's podcast. So I hope you're feeling inspired to try short, focused lessons in your homeschool. Because remember, less really can be more. 10 minutes of your child's full attention is far more valuable than an hour and a half of half hearted work. My challenge for you this week, this month, this school year: pick one subject, maybe math, copy work, or even read aloud, and set a timer. Keep it short, keep it sweet, and watch what happens when your child realizes they can give their full focus because it's not going to drag on forever. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. If this episode encouraged you, I would love for you to share it with another homeschool mom who needs a little boost, or go and give me a 5-star review on what's it called? Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. I don't know. I have Spotify, either one. And if you ever want more support, please come and join me in Mama's Members, where we dive deeper into all of these ideas. I can help you with the practical application of it, and you get all the lesson plans for free in the membership. So it's a super awesome time. Until next time, remember, homeschooling doesn't have to be complicated. Small, simple steps done with love can truly transform your family's learning. Have a great one, friends.